Hello everybody, I'm Giuseppe Basile, also known as the FibStalker. Welcome to this weekend video review. Today is June 11th, 2018, and it's 9:15 p.m. EST time in Toronto. Welcome to this brief video. As usual, if it's the first time you're watching this video, just please pause it here and read the usual disclaimer here. There's no trading recommendation here. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and the information is mainly provided for your general information, educational purposes. All right, so let's get into these markets. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to review the euro dollar first. And we all know that the euro dollar has pierced the sequence of measured moves, moving higher here. And that happened a couple of weeks ago at the end of this move lower here, right? So now the point is there's a much larger move here that is potentially in play now, and this could actually push price lower. So I was looking for a little bit more strength in the euro, but that's not what we're seeing here at the beginning of the week. And the market has been trading this extension short here, so we need to be careful here and consider that scenario as well. I was looking at the upside. When we look at the daily time frame here, we had a sequence of measured move, of course, and the last one produced a risk-free trade, so that's always our intention because we don't know the future. So we had first measure move to first target, the next measure move as traded on Friday, and my retest today here. So this is something that we have to keep in mind. So what the market has reacted to, it's an extension lows to lows here. If this continues, this could be what actually starts the end of the move lower. But two things at the start of the move lower. The two things needs to be taken into account here, and the first one is that the 117.02 needs to fill, and below that there is a 116.75, which is still support price. If price move below 116.36, then we will consider the shorts in full force here. And that could actually bring price below into 113.60 and 111.15. So the two scenarios still open, long and short are still open. It much depends on how the market reacts to smart and dump money positioning. And so at the moment, the 117.31 is still holding here. When we look at the dollar index, of course, we see the opposite picture. Now we were looking for a retrace at least into the extension long here, lows to highs that never traded, the equivalent in the euro as traded, and we will see whether this continues higher. Remember also that this is a very heavy, news heavy week with the meeting of Trump and Kim Jong, and we have FOMC on Wednesday, ECB on Thursday, and also the Bank of Japan. So it's not a good week to get involved here. It's better to wait and see what happens. So here we really don't have a lot I don't have a lot to say about the dollar index. I'd like to see it retesting this 92.33. Remember that we had a sequence of measured moves here. On the short side, which is visible on the daily, was highs to lows, participated at 93.92, and next measure move into the lows here. It's what is trading at the moment. Okay, so this, and at the moment we're still in some sort of participation at that level. So this could also be the start of, the continuation of the move lower. So we don't know that, and let's wait and see for a resolution before we call for anything. SP 500 has been moving laterally, and then it closed up, and then basically closed above the previous session here. We're still continuing higher. This market has the potential to move into previous highs and even new highs, I believe. And what we're trading at the moment is this 25.36 on a very large time frame. When we look at the daily, there is a sequence here, and we can consider the sequence here. What I used also, and I'll keep using, is this low here. There's no specific reason. We're seeing at this after the fact. So as you can see, the first target of that setup has been reached. Now this market likes to trade in in traditional. So I wouldn't be surprised to see 27.36 trading again, especially on a reaction on Wednesday when the Fed should actually increase again the interest rate the second time this year, probably then followed by a third time in December. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this. However, if the market continues higher for any reasons, and this is a very strong market, and the Nasdaq has already, and Russell 2000 have already moved above previous highs, so Dow Jones and SP 500 they could follow. Market is much more speculative at this stage. Typically, when the market is defensive, the Dow gets more traction. So it's the fact that the Nasdaq and the Russell 2000s it's much higher here. It's a good indication of the fact that there is a lot of risk. People are still taking risk in the stock, so it's risk on basically. So SP 500 could also continue higher here. So there are two possibilities. Either we get into the second target of the current measured move, which again is lows to highs here, and the second target would be above previous highs here, and it'd be 28.24, or we get a pullback here into 27.36, and then previous high, previous resistance, now support, and a continuation higher, more or less into that same area. So that's what we see here in the SP 500. Gold and silver. Gold and silver, when we look at gold, gold is still undersized here in this perennial move. There was this break, and the market is moving laterally, so very undersized, as we can see here. Bears have not held, bulls have not held. Now they start holding, but bears also were actually participating. So the market is really moving between 1267 here and 1357. Nothing has changed since the last few months here, several months actually now, since basically almost the beginning of 2017. So I do not expect or anticipate a lot in this market. The line continues higher. We still have that 1257 to test here. Silver is going to be relatively stronger, and kind of are seeing this in the last few weeks here. Still in this base here, and the ratio with gold also needs to adjust here. It's not impossible to see eventually this market moving higher. However, there are moving measured moves lower here, and the 1723 is holding, so we could see this market moving back and forth within this area here. And the lower level you want to watch for a potential reversal into this base here. It's the highs to lows here, which was pierced, but it's also was also then respected. So 1736 is where we could see this market in the coming days and weeks. So let's continue with New Zealand dollar in here, and this market has moved higher after testing an obvious level here, the 50%, 68 50 area here, the 50%, and the first move was not very technical here. As we can see, the market broke and then respected, broke, and then broke price into first and second target. After trading in the first target, lows to highs here has not participated. So really, this market has moved in a basket setup into the second target, and the next measure move could be a full retrace into the 50% here, which we started seeing today, and that would be the 69.55 level, and we will see whether this market is going to continue higher. Australian dollar, US dollar, also same situation here. The 50% was not tested back in December here. Sorry, back in December last year, has been tested recently here in March. I'm talking about this level here, which was not tested here, but actually the actual trace is from lows to highs here. That's what we have to look at to identify price structure. And and here, the as we can see, this level has traded a number of times, has retraded at the end of May here, and now this market is moving higher, right? So the recent measure move here that traded was the lows to highs at 75.67, and that is still in play. If retested successfully, this could hold price, and this could be an opportunity for longs. Okay. The next market we want to review is the pound versus US dollar here, and then we'll review the markets trading along with the US dollar. And this market is specifically weak here, and again, if we can see that the extension, the corresponding extension short that we saw in the euro, that's also in play here. So it seems that these markets that are trading again the US dollar here are all trading extension short for a continuation of the big legs that we saw in the last few weeks. And if that happens, the first target of this move would line up with the 50% from lows, which also lines up with previous support here. Okay, so the setup is there, and so far this market has been following up a break below the 61% level of the trace from lows to highs here. Would actually mean continuation. On the other hand, if 133.40 holds, this market could continue higher. Now, with all this news that we have, I wouldn't trust these levels this week, because the market might become very, very volatile here. All right. So the next is the US dollar Swiss franc, and when we look at this weekly time frame here, you will remember that this market had a sequence of measured move. The last one was from lows to highs here, and that's what has traded, and then price accelerated higher on that move higher of the dollar index as well. So highs to new highs here has pierced. Okay, so from a technical point of view, at least from the point of view of the smart money here, although dump money is still supporting this price because they're seeing this move higher. From the smart money point of view, this level was not defended, which would suggest lower levels for lower prices for US dollar, Singapore dollar, down to possibly even the previous lows here. That's what technically smart money is suggesting. Now we'll see what happens, especially with this news. This market could go higher and then come back and trade into the 0.9620, right? US dollar Canadian dollar has been very erratic here in the last few sessions. And here what we have, when we look at the weekly time frame, we still have that short from highs. It's a weekly short, and we have the longs below here in July. I'm not gonna look at those. We have the 50% short here within this move lower that is still being respected. So above 131.33 we could see price continuing higher here, 135.75, while on the other hand, if this is rejected, there are two measured moves here pushing price lower down back to the previous lows here. Now Canada is also preparing to raise the interest rates, so we might see a fight here. So that's that's not still defined, and a break above 131.33 or price staying below that level will give us the information what's going to happen next. US dollar Japanese yen has accelerated in the last 2 days and continues here at the open of the Tuesday session here. And when we look at the weekly, when we look at this move higher and compare to the previous move, we can always trace the extension long. Now this extension long here, as you can see, initially has been respected, and then it has pierced, as we can see here. So there is something else that is a play here, and in fact it's the daily, not the weekly, but the daily notable anchor here from highs to highs. That's what has been trading here, and very clearly here we can see that 108.40 has found participation right at the level recently. And when we trace the next measured move here, we can see that there is a sequence of measured move now pushing this price higher. The next target is going to be 110.82, and then followed by previous highs as well. So we're seeing a move higher here in the dollar Japanese yen, anticipating maybe strength in the dollar index in the coming days. US dollar Singapore dollar here. This market is anticipating and of course this market behaves and follows, or we use it as a proxy of the dollar index here. And as you can see here, the extension long, I'm using this level here, has been respected, and let's see if that's the case when we trace it precisely here. So this level are very important, and yes, I mean still holding. So the US dollar Singapore dollar is also confirming the possibility of a continuation higher here. Now we'll see what happens in this during these days here. The highs to lows has not traded yet. The 50% short is not traded. So if the market gets into that level, we could see a continuation lower. Okay, next market I'm going to review is the pound versus Canadian dollar here, and let's see where we are in this market. When we look at the past sequences here, we had an extension long, a failure, which brought price into the first and second target, a failure, initial participation, and then failure of the next measured move. And as a result, this market has corrected much more here, and then eventually came to trade into the 50%. Okay, so now when we look at this market on a longer time frame, we also have to always check if there is a 50% short. And as you can see here, the monthly 50% short is, the weekly 50% long is trading against the monthly 50% short. So obviously from this larger time frame, we have to consider the monthly in control. But that doesn't mean that this market cannot move higher, at least temporarily here. And in order to look for that kind of move, we have to always look for the presence of measured moves here. And when we look at this market, it's not as technical as we would like it to be, and however you trace the measured moves here, they have failed. Okay, so the point here is that this market seems to have already exhausted that move higher, and it's important to look at traditional and potential extensions here that could actually justify the resistance here that we are seeing at the moment, and this could be an extension shot. So despite having traded the 50% long, we always have to consider the larger time frame. The larger time frame has been pushing this price lower, and it seems that it's still pushing now this price lower. So we have price moving between a traditional long and extension short here, and extension short 174.55 is trading. It could bring price back into the 171.25. Okay, so that's what we see here in this market. The euro, Australian dollar, it's another market I want to review here. This market has been moving lower for several weeks here, and this market has been also moving in a big range here and basically reversed after trading the top of the range here. This market has reversed, and now it has moved higher a couple of weeks here. Now this market also had a sequence of measured move higher here. The second target has not traded there, but the highs, two new highs, eventually failed, right? So the this is what we can see on a very large time frame. There are of course always inner measure moves, but those are not gonna add any information now, and those have failed as well. So this market continues to move lower here, and the at some point the move here has accelerated, and we have to look for continuations here, and we're seeing this pattern in many markets here. The euro, dollar, pound, and it's possible that the next move lower here has resumed. Okay, and this market has a potential for a move lower going forward from lows to highs. Still be a long way to go here into first and second target, and look how second target kind of lines up with the 50% long. Okay, so this is a short 2 euro Canadian dollar. The euro Canadian dollar, we had a nice move lower here, and then this price went and found participation at the level that we had traced 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 weeks before the fact, 10 weeks before the fact, and now it's getting traction and participation higher. In here you can see an extension I have that has been respected on Friday, and this level, the 152.23, might come into play again here. If it does and is respected, is a second test, second test of dangerous tests. If respected, this could actually bring price higher here. Okay, so that's a level to watch, 152.23. And finally the pound, versus Australian dollar here is the last market I'm going to review in this video, and this market is kind of weak since last week. I resumed that move lower from a level which is either a traditional continuation here or an extension. So I will consider this level, the 205.47, as the level justifying the start of the next move lower here. Okay, and that's what we're seeing at the moment. So I'm not seeing longs in these markets, I'm seeing rather shorts in these markets. So let's wait and see how things develop this week. This week we require specific, we need to be careful, and the 50% here is the only thing that could keep holding this price higher. 175.64 is what could actually hold. This price is trading now, but I'm not sure whether this is going to hold. Okay, so this is it for today. Thanks a lot for watching this review, and I'll see you in the room. Bye bye now.